It's the Festival of Lights. Good morning, I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. I'm celebrating the 8 crazy nights of Hanukkah with latkes, brisket with Mexican spices, and salsa roja, and to finish it up, donuts. So stay where you are because SoFlo Taste starts now.
This is South Florida. It's where I live and work. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. South Florida is more than sun, sand, and sea. It's a lifestyle of fashion, sound, culture, and of course, food. Food with taste from all over the world. Join me as we celebrate the food of South Florida
And the people who love it.
Join me as we experience SoFlo Taste.
Good morning, Taste Buds, and welcome to SoFlo Taste and the Goya Kitchen here at J.A. World in Coconut Creek, and happy Hanukkah. The 8-day celebration of Hanukkah starts in just a few days, and the reason for the dates are different every year is because it was based on the lunar calendar and not the solar one, making it change a bit from year to year. So today I thought it would be fun to give you some of my go-to Hanukkah recipes, perfect for celebrating whether you're Jewish or not. So let's get cooking. Who doesn't love a potato pancake? And usually the latkes or potato pancakes are just those little crunchy, yummy deliciousness that you get. But why not make a big potato pancake and share it amongst your loved ones? Or fight for it amongst your loved ones. So I have here potatoes that have been peeled and they were put through a food processor. Then they were squeezed using cheesecloth, and this is all the liquid that we got out of it, okay? I'm gonna pour off the liquid to show you what is on the bottom of this bowl. That is potato starch, which is awesome, and it can be used to bind together your latkes. We're gonna go ahead and grab that starch, which by the way is not that easy to get out of there, and fold that into our potatoes. And then an egg, some salt, you know potatoes love salt. And first I'm gonna mix it together. And once the potato starch and egg and salt are mixed in there, go ahead and add a little bit of flour or matzah meal for good measure. To make sure we bind it all up really well. And this is definitely coming together well. All right. So I have some hot oil right next to me. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this into one big, hopefully very happy cake, or potato pancake. Go ahead and push that in. Watch out with your hands. So let's go ahead and cook that on medium heat. And while I do that, I would love to start my homemade donuts for Hanukkah. You know, deep frying is something we just love to do on Hanukkah. I love it, love fried food. So let's go ahead and start making our donuts. So I'm gonna warm a little bit of water, just to like room temperature warm. And in this bowl, I have some sugar and some yeast. Once the water is warm, which it is, go ahead and pour it over the yeast and sugar and stir until everything just kind of melts and dissolves. Once it melts and dissolves, go ahead and add warm milk. And make sure that everything has melted and it's all come together. So the next thing we're gonna do is add all together a yolk, an egg, the rest of the sugar, some butter, and the flour. Finally, a little bit of lemon zest for delicious freshness and flavor. All right, we're mixing. We're gonna flip in a second, come right back so we can get all this together and make it a Hanukkah we won't forget. Come right back.
SoFlo Taste will return right after this.
I'm design expert Elena Capra. The SoFlo Hour continues with SoFlo Home Project next on Local 10. Now, back to Chef Michelle and her food.
All of my recipes are available on the SoFlo Taste webpage, and here's an easier way to get to that page. Just point your phone camera at this quick response code. It will take you directly to the SoFlo Taste recipe page. You'll see it on the ingredients list throughout the whole show too. Now back to my food for Hanukkah. This is what our potato pancake or big latke looks like. I want to show you how I flipped it. So using a spatula, you can basically place it down like so on a plate, right? And then take that plate and flip it right back into a pan, and that's how you have it. Not bad. Let's move over here to our beautiful dough. It took about 45 minutes to rise to this point. It is more than doubled. So what we're gonna do is, because it does take 2 rises, I'm gonna throw a little bit of flour down. And we are going to roll this out to about 1/2 inch. I think that is about it. Then go ahead and, this is a little round cutter. Go ahead and dip that in the flour and cut little rounds that are only going to have to rise for about 15-20 minutes. And then we will fry. So set these in a sort of a warm, not hot, but warm place. This kitchen is rather warm, so I'm just gonna leave it here. So these donuts traditionally get filled with either some kind of a jam or jelly. Traditionally, the jelly donut is served on Hanukkah. And traditionally, the Bernstein family goes out and buys them instead of making them. All right, I'm gonna flip this one last time. Even though I shouldn't fuss with it so much, I like it really crispy. So this is our crispy latke. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about garnishes. I'm just gonna slice some chives. And remember, the latke is so good, it doesn't really need anything. I forgot to tell you, I actually grated onions in it as well, which we traditionally do. So I've got some sour cream, some really yummy applesauce, a little salmon roe that I thought would be kind of fun this year, and chives. Let's go ahead and serve our potato pancake, which I have now touched it way too many times, but let's see how we do. There we go. And go ahead and dust this with a little bit of chive. Of course, just a little topping of salt. And then you have all this goodness. I personally would just break off a piece like so, take a little bit of sour cream, and enjoy. Ooh, good. So yummy. Come back so that I can keep eating this and enjoy it. And then I can show you a gorgeous brisket with Mexican flavors that is just delicious, which you could eat for your Hanukkah dinner or make a taco out of. And of course, we're gonna finish those donuts together. See you in a minute. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and our Hanukkah show. Where would Hanukkah be, or any Jewish holiday really, without a brisket? I mean, brisket's just delicious. And so I went a little bit off my usual this year. I decided to go kind of Mexican with this flavoring. I developed this recipe actually for a taco, and it was so good I decided to make it for Hanukkah. So this is a beautiful, only about a half of a brisket that we got from Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. They're so wonderful. I want to remind you, by the way, it's time to place your holiday order to Delaware. Just call 954-983-6831. Go to delawarechicken.com, place your order, make your Hanukkah order today. The deadline for Christmas, by the way, is December 20th. New Year's is the 29th of December, and they are located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. Mwah. Sending you guys kisses and Hanukkah love. All right, so for this delicious brisket, you need to season it heavily, top and bottom, with salt and pepper. I've got ground pepper. I also have some cumin here. As well as some oregano. Flip it over. Let's repeat the process. And really get it all in there. All right, then we're gonna sear it. I have some grapeseed oil for that. And of course, we're gonna start out with the fat side down for searing. You really need a big pan for this, so if you don't have a pan large enough, a griddle would be great. And if you don't have a griddle, you can always use your grill. A grill is a great place for searing. I know that obviously it might look a little different, it might taste a little different, you might have the grill marks on it, which are delicious, but you are imparting flavor and you are getting the job done of the sear. So it doesn't matter if you're doing it on a grill. Even in a really hot oven, you can actually do some searing too. So the only thing we're really looking for, we're not looking to render all the fat down because we need that fat to cook the brisket. All we're looking for is a really nice, just golden color. Okay, so once you've seared it nicely on both sides, go ahead and move your brisket to your roasting pan. And let's go ahead and cook all of the vegetables. So we have onions, carrots, celery, and a couple of bay leaves. I've got some garlic cloves. I decided not to chop them because everything stays whole in the sauce. So just some garlic cloves smashed a little bit. Next, I have a little bit of tomato paste that you really want to cook out, the raw tomato paste. If not, everything just tastes like sweet tomato paste. All right, next we're gonna add the adobo from a can of chipotle chilies. There's always this sauce, which is called adobo. You can buy a can of chipotles anywhere and it has this really great juice in it. And most of my recipes actually don't use the chilies, it just uses this part of it. I've got a can of chopped canned tomatoes, chicken stock, or you can use beef broth interchangeably to cook your brisket. It's up to you. And then finally, a beer. I don't care what kind. It gives great flavor. If you'd rather use a dark beer, that would be really yummy. I'm using a lager. It's kind of like, it's like using wine in your brisket. Most people cook brisket with a little bit of wine. I decided to go with the beer flavor. The lager and that hoppiness really goes well with the chilies and the tomatoes and all the flavor that we gave to the brisket. So that's basically the gist of the recipe for this brisket. You pour this on top of this gorgeous piece of meat. You cover it in foil and then you cook it nice and slow. So I like to cook the brisket at about 325 to 350, and it takes a good 3 to 4 hours in your oven. I actually am serving it this year with the roast tomato salsa that I told you I created for the taco recipe. And it goes beautifully with the brisket, so I decided to serve it with it. I think I called it a charred tomato salsa. It's really yummy. So let's see how we look. As you can see, it shrinks quite a bit, probably about 30 to 40%, and it should pull rather easily or slice. It's up to you. Yeah. So let me show you how tender this is. So once you place it down, it all just falls apart. Now you don't want it overcooked because it will get dry if you overcook it. What you want is this just cooked, super tender perfection that should pull the meat just right apart, like so. Now if you want to slice your brisket, you can do so, but I recommend slicing it when it is cold. Slice it nice and thin, put it back in the sauce, and you will have a gorgeous tender brisket day of. I also recommend you cooking this about 3 to 4 days ahead of time, slicing it, putting it back in the sauce and the gravy, and then heating it up slowly on 200, 220 degrees the day of, and it'll be even more delicious because it has more time to soak up this yummy sauce. Now, I love the sauce when it looks like this, but you can also, if you want, puree the sauce for a thicker sauce. And then, of course, you have your fire roasted tomato salsa right on top. It's great, you know, to bring a little bit of character into your brisket this year or into any of the flavors that you're making. Pretty good Hanukkah. All right, come right back. We're going to make donuts together.
Come back to the Goya Kitchen at J.A. World. Michelle and the food. This is SoFlo Taste.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and our show all about foods you can serve for Hanukkah or really any time of year because they're all so yummy. So I am about to fry my donuts. Let's see how they are. Yeah, they puffed up really nicely. And I have my oil set at 350 degrees. And I actually just achieved that temperature perfectly. All right, so let's go ahead and start frying. They feel so pillowy in your hands. They're just really soft and I don't know, I love this feel. Oh, look how they puff. See how puffy they're getting? That's exactly what you want. So I'm just gonna make sure that they get cooked on all sides. So tell me this isn't fun. I mean, how great is it to make donuts in your house? And the great thing about the oil is you can actually reuse this oil probably 2 to 3 times again because you're not really getting it very dirty here. I mean, the donut is just so clean. If there's a little flour, the residual flours will always set to the bottom. You can pour off the oil from the top and then throw away the flour that's on the bottom and reuse the oil. These are gorgeous. I'm so excited. So for the marmalade, I have chosen to use one of my favorite marmalades. It's actually a black raspberry. Can't find them very often, but I adore them. And I decided to use it today for my special donut. And you can use whatever you want. And if you'd rather use custard, I actually have a great recipe for creme patisserie on our site at soflotaste.com that you can easily fill your donuts with. You can do a chocolate creme pad if you want to, or of course, any kind of jam or jelly that you like. All right, I'm gonna start pulling these out. And you can place them on either paper towels or I have a little parchment here. And then just dust them with some sugar, powdered sugar that is, or you can use regular sugar, it's really up to you. And then the filled ones, I'm gonna go ahead and fill before I top them with their sugar. So they're gonna be warm, so I'll use a towel to hold them. And I put, like I said, my favorite jam into this pastry bag and then just squeeze as much as you want, really. I think a tablespoon would be good. Oh, that's good. Oh, see? Perfect. So you can kind of see the filling on the bottom and then you can just flip it over. Nobody knows. It's awesome. Do that again. The one flavor I've never seen in a donut for Hanukkah is orange marmalade, which is actually my second favorite jam. I think I need to try that next time. They feel easier than I thought they would. Yum. So again, just topping with a little bit of powdered sugar. And there you have it. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me today. I really appreciate your viewership greatly. And remember, as I've told you in the past, without you, all I'm doing is making lunch for the crew. Now next week, pour yourself a cup of cocoa, that is, because I will be putting cocoa in my spotlight and in my recipes. Spare ribs with a cocoa and spice rub, hot chocolate cake, and the secrets to the perfect cup of cocoa. So stay tuned to Local 10 all week so you won't miss it next Saturday here on SoFlo Taste. Now let's get a good look in from Elena Capra to see how she's doing today on SoFlo Home Project. Great, Elena, how you doing, honey?
Hey Michelle, so as an interior designer, I am a sucker for great architectural details, like this window here. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we tour a magnificent property that's been completely rebuilt to take advantage of the home's stunning architecture and waterfront views.
Awesome, Elena. Sounds perfect. Thanks. So, Taste Buds, that's this week's show. So be safe, be smart, and be well. And I'll see you here next week for some recipes that are cuckoo cocoa. Goodbye, good health, and good taste. Yum! Happy Hanukkah!